Order. Order.
The ayes to the right, 310. The noes to the left, 240.
Thank you. The ayes to the right, 310. The noes to the left, 240. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlock. And finally, we now come to Lord's Amendment 10D. Minister, to move the motion to disagree formally.
I beg to move.
The question is that this House disagrees with the Lords in their Amendment 10D. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. No! Division. Clear the lobby. Order. Order. The question is that this House disagrees with the Lords in their Amendment 10D. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. No. Tellers for the ayes, Mike Wood, Amanda Soloway. Tellers for the noes, Christian Wakeford and Mary Glendon. Order. Order.
The ayes to the right, 302. The noes to the left, 244.
Thank you. The ayes to the right, 302. The noes to the left, 244. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Are not. Minister, to move that a committee be appointed to draw up reasons.
I beg to move that a committee be appointed to draw up reasons to be assigned to the Lords for disagreeing to their amendments. That Michael Tomlinson, Scott Mann, Kieran Mullen, James Sunderland, Stephen Kinnock, Colleen Fletcher and Alison Thewlis be members of the committee. That Michael Tomlinson be the chair of the committee. That 3 be the quorum of the committee. And that the committee do withdraw immediately.
Very good. The question is that a committee be appointed to draw up reasons to be assigned to the Lords for disagreeing to their amendments 1D, 3E, 6D and 10D. That Michael Tomlinson, Scott Mann, Kieran Mullen, James Sunderland, Stephen Kinnock, Colleen Fletcher and Alison Thewlis be members of the committee. That Michael Tomlinson be the chair of the committee. That 3 be the quorum of the committee and that the committee do withdraw immediately. As may other opinion say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And that concludes consideration of the Lord's message relating to the safety of Rwanda asylum and immigration bill.
Finance number 2 bill, second reading.
No.
I have to announce as well that the reason amendment in the name of the SNP in the name of Drew Henry has been selected, and I call the Minister to move second reading. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I beg to move that the bill be read a second time. Last month, my right honourable friend, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, set out a budget to deliver on the priorities of the Prime Minister and his government, and in the context of an improving economic picture. Inflation has more than halved, down from its peak of 11.1% to 3.2%, and real wages have increased for the 9th month in a row and are now growing at an average annual real rate of 1.9%. The finance bill we are debating today builds on these improvements. It does so by seeking to reward work and by boosting the housing market, improving the tax system and strengthening the economy. This follows on from our national insurance cuts, which, when combined with the autumn reductions, mean 27 million employees will get an average tax cut of £900 a year and 2 million self-employed a tax cut averaging £700 a year. All made possible because we have a plan for growth and for better and more efficient public services. This finance bill covers 24 different measures in total, and today I will outline its most substantive powers.
That's excellent. Will he consider a further measure to right a historic injustice? Would he entertain in the committee an amendment to allow those caught up in the loan charge access to a tribunal?
I thank my right honourable friend for his comments. We've had a discussion over the loan charge previously. I don't believe an amendment would be in order on this particular bill, but I can say to the honourable gentleman, right honourable gentleman and others that I am always open to hearing concerns about the loan charge. I have done previously and will happily continue to hear information, evidence and concerns from colleagues.
I thank the Minister for coming to the House to present the budget for the House. Minister, every one of us will know over this last few weeks, indeed this last 6 months, farmers have been under exceptional weather pressure. Such as that weather pressure, it means that the indications are that farmers won't be able to cultivate their land, plough their land, sow their crops, with the result the Minister referred to inflation coming down. By the way, I'm glad that it's dropping. We all should be. If we're not, there's something wrong with us. But at the same time, inflation can't come down if foodstuffs start to rise. Has the Minister had any opportunity to consider that very issue? How we can help farmers in a difficult time to keep the food prices down and thereby and ensure that the inflation that the Minister is referring to can actually continue to drop?
Yes, can I thank the right honourable gentleman for his positive welcome of the inflation news today. He's right that it is welcome, but it's always something we need to keep an eye on. The points he's raising about farmers, I would like to join him in thanking our farmers. They've played a pivotal role in helping food prices come down, and of course the supermarkets have a role in this area as well. He's raising some points that are slightly outside of the remit of this particular bill, but I can assure him that I will continue to have conversations with ministerial colleagues and others, and I'm sure he will as well, because we always listen to the really, really important farming community in this country who do so much to create employment and, of course, provide us with food. Now, as I said, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the bill covers 24 different measures. I won't go through every single one of them today, but I do want to focus on a few key areas. And first, I will turn to how this bill rewards work. I'm sure that we all recognise a simple truth, that work should pay. We understand how hard many people up and down this country do work, and this government wants to ensure they are recognised for this, because this approach not only benefits individuals and families, it also benefits overall growth and the economy. That's why, as I mentioned, we have already taken 2 bills to cut national insurance through Parliament. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this finance bill goes further. That's why a key measure in this bill is to increase the High Incomes Child Benefit Charge, or HICBIC, threshold from £50,000 to £60,000. In addition, the rate of the charge will be halved so that individuals continue to receive child benefit until one household member earns £80,000, taking 170,000 families out of paying this tax charge. These changes are a well-earned reward for working families up and down the country and puts pounds back into parents' pockets. Certainly.
Giving way, and whilst the changes in the child benefit allowances are important, and especially helping parents who want to get into work and have their children looked after, does he accept that one of the biggest impacts of this budget on people who are working is the way in which they're being dragged into higher tax rates because thresholds have not been risen, and that in itself is having a huge disincentive effect on working families?
I think the honourable gentleman will recognise that, of course, he'll be aware that back in 2010, the tax-free allowance was, I think, £6,475. Because of the actions taken by this government since then, the tax-free allowance has increased to over £12,500 now. That is actually a significant real terms increase, which means that take-home pay is higher than it otherwise would have been. And then when taken in combination with other measures, it's a really important move. But also, I'm sure he wouldn't want to detract as well, the significant changes in national insurance put money back into people's pockets. We've eliminated by a third a whole category of taxation, national insurance, and that will help people working in this country as well. Yep.
Very quick, Minister, giving way. And just to reinforce his point on the increase in thresholds, the Minister says it's been a significant real increase. Actually, it's a 21% real increase, which is very significant indeed. But my question is the part of the HCBC changes that were announced in the budget that he didn't quite mention, which was the plan from 25-26 that would be based on the household budget rather than individual budget. Can you just reassure the House that HMRC are going to be up to speed to be able to implement that part of what the Chancellor's outlined?
Yes, again, thank my honourable friend. He's jumped ahead to a later part of my speech, but I'll jump to that in a moment as well, because it is a really important part of the announcements as well, the movement to household. But I should just reiterate the first points. In terms of the changes that we've made, overall we estimate 485,000 families will gain an average of £1,260 in child benefit in 2024-25 from these changes to HICBIC. And of course, what is good for families is also good for the economy at large, as the honourable gentleman was pointing out, really, because the OBR estimate that through these child benefit changes, the economy will gain additional hours worked, equivalent to around 10,000 FTEs by 28-29. And going forward, we do want to ensure that the child benefit system fairly rewards families in all their diversity, including those who, for example, only one parent works. So the government will end the unfairness, for example, of single earner families in the child benefit system by administering the HICBIC on a household rather than individual basis by April 2026. And we shall be consulting on this in due course, as my honourable friend for North East Bedfordshire quite rightly highlighted. This is something we know that many people have been calling for.
I'm grateful So could you just give us some indication of what level of household income the Treasury have in mind for that consultation? I presume it'll be much higher than 80,000, otherwise it'll be a more punitive situation. So is it going to be 100,000, 120,000? I mean, where will it be?
I appreciate my honourable friend's inquisitiveness there, but this is the point of the consultation. We will be having a consultation, and I'm sure his views and opinions, and indeed others, will be absolutely taken into account as well. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'll now turn to how the bill will drive investment in our economy. We all recognise that investment in the economy is crucial for economic growth, supports everyone across the country, and ensures our competitiveness in international markets. That's why, through this bill, the government is taking decisions for the long term to support that investment. For example, our creative industries contributed £126 billion in gross value added in 2022 and supported over 2 million jobs. By announcing over £1 billion of new release for the UK's world-leading creative industries at the spring budget, we have signalled our commitment to ensuring the sector's continued growth. For example, we will make current tax release for theatres, orchestras, museums and galleries permanent at a rate of 45% for touring theatres and museums and galleries touring productions, 40% for non-touring productions and 45% for orchestras. This will ensure that our creative industries have the support they need after the unprecedented economic shock of the pandemic. We will also further support the UK's independent film sector through a new UK independent film tax credit at a rate of 53% for films with a budget of up to £15 million, worth about £80 million a year. This will support the production of UK independent films and, of course, the incubation of UK talent admired around the world. This government is committed to supporting UK businesses, and these measures deliver on that.
The Minister for giving way. The amendment in my name sought to address the failure of the bill to bring in tax measures to ensure the continuation of oil and gas activity in Scotland, including at Grangemouth Oil Refinery. Almost 90% of levy revenue comes from Scotland, but there's precious little by way of investment in that part of the economy. A good example of that is the UK government's denial of £80 million to save Grangemouth, but at the same time signing a loan guarantee of £600 million for INEOS for activity in Antwerp in Belgium. And in a response to my honourable friend, the member for East Lothian, in a written question, the UK government has not even assessed the potential supply of that activity.
Order.
So can the minister,
the
minister not see?
Question.
Can the minister not see the perversity of spending Scottish revenue abroad while jobs in Scotland are willfully put at risk by this government?
I couldn't disagree more with the honourable member's premise. I think if anybody's shown support for the sector, this government has, in an appropriate way, whilst also encouraging the industry to decarbonise. And I'll come on to the EPL changes in a moment. But I'm afraid the honourable member, I disagree with his points. We have shown huge support for the sector in a proportionate way. Because as I said, we are taking fiscally responsible decisions to extend the energy profits levy for 1 year. We are also providing confidence and certainty to businesses in that sector by legislating for an energy profits levy price floor. That's what's in this bill. And this will effectively abolish the energy profits levy if the 6-month average for both oil and gas is at or below a set threshold. And doing so was the sector's main ask at Spring Budget 24 and could help unlock around £9 billion in uncommitted investment spend, according to Offshore Energies UK, who welcomed this decision, and I'm sorry that the honourable gentleman does not feel able to welcome it as well. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, these measures will ensure investment in our economy continues to grow. I'll now outline some measures in the bill's property package. This bill will cut the higher rate of capital gains tax on residential property from 28% to 24%, encouraging landlords and second homeowners to sell their properties, which could in fact increase revenues because there would be more transactions. And certainly.
I'm grateful to the Minister for giving way, and the capital gains tax cut is very much welcome. Could he outline, though, will this come into play retrospectively. So hypothetically, if a, say, Labour frontbencher happened to owe some capital gain tax, would they benefit from a Conservative tax cut?
I think I know where the Honourable Gentleman's heading there. Of course, I can't comment on individual tax situations. The point he's making, though, is an important one. Everybody should always pay the taxes that they are owed, and that's a principle across, I think, shared across the House. In terms of the measures, it is implemented from the 6th of April 2024, so some people may be disappointed that there isn't retrospectivity. But as I say, this measure will make more homes available to purchase for a variety of buyers, including first-time buyers. But we also need to ensure that the property system is fair and working as intended, and this government is clear. Where policies are not meeting their policy objectives, we will take action. And that's why we're also abolishing multiple dwellings relief, or MDR, a bulk purchase relief in the stamp duty and land tax regime from the 1st of June 2024. This follows an external evaluation which found no strong evidence that the relief is meeting its original objective of supporting investment in the private rented sector. And because HMRC has recorded high and clear instances of its abuse. We're also amending rules that will ensure victims of domestic abuse are not unfairly penalised if they wish to buy their first homes anonymously, and will ensure that those in difficult circumstances are not facing additional barriers to purchasing homes. And we will ensure registered providers of social housing in England and Northern Ireland are not liable for stamp duty land tax when purchasing property with a public subsidy, and exempt public bodies from the 15% anti-avoidance rate. Finally, Mr Deputy Speaker, I'll turn to measures that will simplify and modernise our tax system. These will make it easier to engage with the tax system and close loopholes which could be used for avoidance. Mr Deputy Speaker, the negative impacts of inefficient, complex taxes on both businesses and the wider economy cannot be understated. That's why this government is taking action to ensure the system is working for everyone. As a starting point, we are amending 2 primary VAT interest provisions in legislation to ensure that they apply to all cases intended by the policy. This will mean that the interest payments that HMRC recover are correct, as well as saving time and resources for HMRC and businesses. And because this government recognises it's everyone's responsibility to pay their fair share of tax to support our vital public services, we are closing another anti-avoidance loophole, one that enables individuals to avoid tax by moving assets abroad via a company. This is one of 200 measures that we have undertaken since 2010 to close loopholes and reduce the tax gap, which now sits at just 4.8%. That's down from 7.5% under Labour. Yes, an inconvenient truth for the opposition, who recently claimed to be so enthusiastic about tackling tax avoidance, and yet Labour didn't take these actions that we have taken when they were in power, and importantly, Labour failed to support the last finance bill, which included further measures to tackle tax avoidance. But they were in good or rather bad company because the Lib Dems and the SNP didn't either. But this isn't the first time that we've seen this, how shall I put it, distance between what the opposition say and what they do. Even recently, let's remember, the Labour Party said that they would support our national insurance tax cuts. But when it came to the vote, well, I searched the eye lobby, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I did not see a single Labour MP in there with the Conservatives actually voting for tax cuts. Nor a Lib Dem, I should add, and the SNP were in the opposition lobbies actively voting against tax cuts for their very own constituents. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, while the government is getting on with delivering on our plan to cut taxes, grow the economy and boost investment, the Labour Party would put all of this at risk and send us back to square one. Instead of taking the responsible decisions to back businesses, the Labour Party want to saddle them with new regulations. Labour's so-called New Deal for workers is in fact a bad deal for jobs, workers and businesses. The Deputy Leader of the Labour Party and the unions, 70 new regulations would ban flexible working, disincentivise small businesses from making new hires and unleash waves of low-threshold, zero-warning strikes. I give way to the Honourable Gentleman.
And he's quite right to point out the dangers of Labour being in charge of finances and the impact which that is likely to have on tax. But would he at least have the humility to accept that tax is higher under this government as it has been for decades?
I certainly have the humility to accept and recognise that, because taxes are higher out of the obvious and widely accepted necessity of paying for massive amounts of intervention because of the pandemic and in response to supporting families and businesses through the cost of living challenges. And therefore we make no apologies for intervening to support lives and livelihoods to the extent that that was necessary. It's absolutely vital that we did intervene, because otherwise, to have not done otherwise, would have been a disaster for the UK economy. The general level of taxation, though, as the Honourable Gentleman is probably aware, is much lower in the UK than many other countries who also had to, out of necessity, significant increased taxes and government intervention in response to the pandemic. We have much lower levels of taxation than Germany, for example, and also France and Italy and many other countries. But as I said, we have higher levels of taxation out of necessity, but now we're in a position to start to reduce those levels of taxation out of policy intent and choice. That's exactly what we're doing. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, I should say that this is a finance bill that absolutely rewards hard work, supports our vital industries, boosts the housing market, and continues to create a fairer, simpler, more modern tax system. It delivers on the government's commitment to prioritise economic growth and will ensure a brighter future for our country. And for these reasons, I commend the bill to the House.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. James Murray.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for the chance to respond on behalf of the opposition in this second reading of the Finance Bill. This Finance Bill follows last month's budget, a budget at which the record of the Conservatives' time in office was laid bare. After 14 years, the Conservatives have shown what it is that they can deliver for the British people: higher taxes, falling living standards, and lower economic growth. And the truth is that after 14 years, they are out of time, out of ideas, and out of touch with reality. They are out of time because whatever they say or try to do now, it is too late to repair the damage they have done to the economy and to people's standard of living. The Conservatives may now have implemented a reduction to national insurance, a cut that we support, but this comes amid a tax burden that is set to rise to its highest in 70 years, and that is set to rise in each and every year of the forecast period. The government simply cannot escape the reality that for every £5 they are giving back to families, they will be taking £10 in higher taxes under their plans. Giving with one hand, taking twice as much with the other. That is the reality of life under the Conservatives. They're not just out of time, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but also out of ideas. At the budget from which this finance bill came, the Conservatives performed what may be the biggest U-turn of this Parliament yet, and there is some tough competition on that. After years and years of the Conservatives opposing our plan to scrap the non-dom tax status tooth and nail, the Chancellor stood here last month and adopted our approach as his own. I recall the Financial Secretary's immediate predecessor being a particularly passionate defender of the non-dom status. I remember her declaring less than a year ago in committee stage of a previous finance bill that, and I quote, "We have come to the conclusion that non-domiciled status is right. How times change." Of course, despite the government's apparent U-turn though, we have learnt since the budget through our careful